Epic War is a masterpiece of a game, but there are still glitches that exist in every entry in this series. Let's start with Epic War 1, and a glitch which proved so beneficial that developers incorporated it as a feature in the sequel. In both the first and second games, the player uses the arrow tower to kill enemies that approach our base. The player holds A to continuously shoot arrows, and then the S, D, and F keys to shoot fire, ice, and thunder arrows respectively. As simple as this mechanic is to use, problems arise when you have other hotkeys, such as for summoning units, that your laser beam of a tower turns into a nightmare to operate. The solution, however, is to simply hold down the ASDF keys to fire arrows, and then click anywhere away from your game window, such as the start menu or another tab. When you go into your game again, you will notice that the arrows will shoot by themselves. All the player needs to do at this point is to simply aim where they want to hit their shots, and enjoy destroying enemy castles in peace. The glitch can be fixed by simply pressing ASDF again to stop firing. As amazing as this bug is for Epic War, it wouldn't return in the second game, as you can simply just press 0 to auto fire. But there are features that don't work as intended. The healers are a unit available with the human race or with the elves, intended to play alongside your offensive troops to provide a HP regeneration whilst they engage the opposing army. The only problem is that these clerics don't heal other units, rather they only heal themselves, making them completely and utterly useless. Sure, they may act as an annoying meat shield in early game, which blocks your arrows as the target you want to kill is the threat behind them, but that's more of an inconvenience rather than good gameplay. The only other time you could summon them is some niche strategy on level 18, where you redirect some of the magic shots so that they don't attack your titans, although that isn't the most unusual thing about level 18. The Lord of Hell is the final boss of the game, and the only unit which can heal from certain attack types, to which there are 3: melee, range, and magic. In the case of the Lord of Hell, he heals from magic and ranged attacks, making them unusable in the killing of the final boss. Or are they? You see, Flash Player is coded in 32-bit, which means that numbers cannot exceed the integer limit of 2,147,483,647. If you heal the Lord of Hell's HP that high, you will kill him and win the level, as the game literally cannot store a number that high. Now let us discuss a bug which is symbolic in speedrunning the next 3 entries: the pause glitch. This glitch is used to skip the victory animation at the end of every level in Epic War 3. As once the enemy castle is destroyed, the level is won and the rest of the level is just downtime. To perform, simply win the level, pause the game, and quit to the main menu. You will notice that it will count as you winning the game, but the caveat in Epic War 3 is that you won't get any experience points or gold, which you would do had the trick been performed in the 4th or 5th entries. Therefore, you don't really see this performed in playthroughs of Epic War 3, as the benefits of upgrading your unit and potentially adding to your roster overwhelmingly outweigh the 10 seconds of time save. But in speedruns, you can do this on the Cave of Trials and still unlock the cards that you are rightfully owed, which accidentally led to the discovery of this brand new glitch last year. What? I did not know you could do this! Look, new game, I have the end. How did I unlock a boss monster on a new game file? Well, it's a bit of a complicated process, but firstly, you need to beat Epic War 3. Then, pick a card that you want to use on this new save file that is one of the 5 rewarded cards you get from the Cave of Trials. I would recommend Berserk, as it's far more useful than any of the titans, but you can use the Titans if you want. From here, you must beat the Cave of Trial that unlocks that card. In this case, I have to beat Cot 5. Now, start a new game, and you will notice that Wrath of Zeus is added to your deck, which will be available to use throughout the run. Moving on to Epic War 4, we start with a surprising number of oversights, which impact how the player strategizes for the duration of the game, highlighting not one, but two skills that don't work as intended. Firstly, the guild is a castle upgrade that gives the player more gold for completing a level, increasing in increments of plus 20% per upgrade. A gold boost provides such a significant advantage that in Epic War 1, the skill is a Congregate exclusive upgrade to incentivize players to play the game via Congregate. But in the case of Epic War 4, it flat out doesn't give you any extra gold, as the code programmed to use the upgrade was never finished, which, by the way, is such a simple fix that every mod in Epic War 4 has the guild working perfectly. This made the guild, ironically, a waste of money, though you do have to upgrade it in order to unlock the rest of Simon's upgrade tree, and then never think about the upgrade ever again. These next two spells, however, are very overpowered in spite of a little unintentional nerf. Berserk is a spell that for the next 10 to 20 seconds guarantees that the units you control will land a critical hit on the enemy, which is potentially a 4 times multiplier of attack. Not only that, but you can stack it onto a utility known as Rage, which gives you double attack for 10 to 20 seconds. For over a decade, this synergy contributed to the melting of enemy front lines, and was practically game over in the right person's hands. But there is one catch that only exists in this game. The boost does not work on enemy castles. Even in Epic War 3, the combination of Hercule's strength and Berserk would work on enemy castles, but not on the 4th game it seems. And for the spells that do work perfectly, make sure you use them sparingly, as the game can bug out and you can waste all of your mana in a slip. You see, when you spam spells over and over, what can happen is your spell locks out and the game won't allow you to unselect the spell that you are using, or to select a different spell, which fucks up your ability to micromanage until the glitch is fixed. If it occurs, all you need to do is press the hotkey linked to the spell you are using. For example, the glitch occurred when I was spamming the Comet. The Comet is on the first spell slot, so I press 1 and voila, back to normal. It's very lucky that this detrimental bug can be fixed with the press of a button, but unfortunately in Epic War 5, a texture bug exists whereas if activated, can only be resolved by restarting the game. On the first level in Epic War 5, you are given a tutorial on how the game works, which most players skip right through, let's be real. If you were to pause the game before you clear the text boxes, they will appear on screen and cover your game, which makes the process of beating levels an absolute nightmare. Now, the only reason why this glitch was discovered was because during speedruns, the clicking in the first 4 seconds were deemed as suboptimal, giving a runner an excuse to quit out of the game before the tutorial has been skipped. But something that's weird that most players have encountered is this barrage of cannon projectiles being shot at you during Trial 2. The cause for this glitch is that the enemy is spawning cannons, but for one reason or another they won't charge at you and will forever be stuck behind the screen. This is very annoying, as you can't use Titans whose attack animation displaces them from left to right, like the White Tiger or the Guardian Angel, as they will be in range for the dormant cannons ready to attack for high damage. And no, you can't kill the cannons because they will just respawn. This feature is symbolic with Trial 2, and players have had to adapt their strategy around this bug for years. But what if I told you this bug exists in 2 of the extra stages? Now, Extra 6 would probably make sense, as both it and the second trial have their levels designed around the Power Goblins, who are mad scientists responsible for building the troops linked with machinery and anarchy. But extra 4? That's a level where the final boss is a dwarf, which leads me to believe this mechanic is completely unintentional. Alright, I know I'm cheating a little bit by including Epic War 6, but there are 2 major glitches that if you don't overcome, the app becomes literally unusable. Firstly, it is imperative that the player purchases the hero, Graborg Grimtooth, before starting the 5th level, as not only do you get 2 new units, being Graborg and his default unit, the Goblin, but because if you don't, the game will crash. To make matters more frustrating, if the player has already spent their crystals on buying new units or other heroes, guess what? You are soft locked, as there is no way of getting crystals outside of beating levels for the first time. Therefore, the only fix is to uninstall the APK file and then reinstall it, starting your game from the very beginning. A similar bug exists in level 29, and unfortunately there is no real combination of units that work consistently, but for what it's worth, Epic War modder Davd managed to beat the level using Vigruff, Lilith, and Graborg, alongside their boss monsters and magic units, and the use of 3 Count Canumbra Titans. If you want to try and fix the bug yourself, try different combinations of units and see what works. Speaking of Titans, they are incredibly expensive as an asset to the late stage grind of Epic War 6, as not only do levels become too hard to complete with your vanilla troops, but the Titans themselves are one-time use, making them a huge investment for your progress in the game, and heightening the stakes of the upcoming level. This constant risk-taking deterred a lot of players from completing Epic War 6, which is a shame because they never clocked on to this glitch. To set it up, you first want to buy at least 2 Archangels and 2 of a Titan that you want to glitch. This strat is best done with the creature, though you can get it to work with others. Now, start Trial 2, as it's the laggiest trial, which is exactly what we need. As soon as the level starts, assault your troops and summon an Archangel. After 30 seconds, immediately summon the unit that you want to glitch, in this case is the creature. After another 30 seconds, summon another creature. Now, for this final cooldown, summon your second Archangel. Remember, that was our last Titan, so after another 30-second cooldown, we won't have the option to summon another Titan, right? But as you can see, I have infinite creatures to summon. Now the player can complete the rest of the game without the added stress of needing to grind for gold if they lose the level. And finally, we must discuss the glitches of Saga, which starts off with a history lesson. Back in 2013, version 1.57 was infamous for the amount of grinding required to progress in the game. And so crystals were even more valuable than they are now, due to how many good items could be bought to boost your stats. Though unfortunately, crystals are very rare, and could only be obtained through achievements, and a 1 in 10 chance every single day. Thankfully, there was a bug which manipulated the game into giving you more crystals. For there was a feature where you could gain 100 crystals for checking out more games. However, if you spam this link over and over, for example, it advertises Epic War 1, you click the link to Epic War 1 5 times, reload the game, and then 500 crystals will be added to your account as opposed to just 100. Which really helped boost the player's crystal count by a decent chunk. In more recent times, however, crystals are still a grind, don't get me wrong, but nowhere near as bad as the grind for battle points. Battle points are a type of experience point rewarded for beating other players' setup in Epic War Saga, and can be used as a cost to attempt any of the 8 Cave of Trials. The amount of battle point you get depends on how hard the matchup is between you and your opponent, which is indicated by how much action the battle costs. The key thing to note here is that the most common battles cost 1 action and give you 10 battle points on a win. Just so you understand the problem with this grind, the first Cave of Trial costs 1,000 per attempt, which means you would have to do 100 battles normally to even dream at beating the Golden Saint Nightmare. Now for a ranty portion. In version 1.57, the game will generate 10 random opponents for you to pick and choose. If you didn't like them, you could choose anyone you want with an Epic War Saga account, which also includes 3 dummy accounts known as Farm 100, Farm 500, and Farm 1000, which on paper are tough matchups, but they don't have any HP upgrades, nor did they have any low-cost troops to quickly defend themselves from your charge. This was awesome as you could risk-freely gain ludicrous amounts of battle points fast. So what did they do in the 2018 remake to this amazing system? That's right, give you 4 opponents to choose from and made it so each opponent can only be fought once. I mean seriously, Rudy, why do you hate the cool features of version 1.57? But thankfully there's a bug to it. The leftmost opponent won't ever be cleared, which means that you could rematch that account again and again. The key is to refresh until the leftmost opponent has a hard matchup, say a 40 action cost, so that every victory rewards you with 120 battle points. Still not as good as version 1.57, but hey, it's better than nothing. And finally, Saga's strategy containing the smelliest of cheese. As mentioned earlier, Saga is a very grindy game, and gamers search for anything if it meant beating over that difficulty curve, including a glitch which would make your hero invincible. You see, in Epic War Saga, both you and the enemy can summon up to 90 units, and anyone who has faced a horde that big and made it out alive knows that passing through that knockback is kind of like passing the guard of Joao Miao. We can however use this to help us clip out of the screen by moving to the right. Simply wait for an excess summon, charge to the right hand side, kill the enemy ranged, and then don't touch anything. Let the enemy push you away from the battlefield, and you won't take any more damage for the rest of the level. If you don't like the glitch for whatever reason, you can simply walk out or quit the level and try again. Now that I have highlighted several glitches that exist in all of the Epic War games, and with the release date of the remakes edging closer and closer, will these bugs be patched or passed off as happy accidents? Thanks for watching.